I think I'm ready. Let's see, make sure YouTube is rolling. Yep. There it is. We are live now. Get ready for the music. Almost ready. Not as ready as I thought I was, but I'm pretty close now. All right. Let's do it from that shot. The heck, why not? From the studio and the bonus room above the garage at the foot of Mount Belzoni, on the north side of Cary, the nicest place to live in North Carolina, and the fifth nicest place to live in the United States of America. Yep, that is according to Money Magazine. A great spot for families and retirees. That's what they say about Cary. In other words, it's dull, which is fine with me. Cary got beat only by Frisco, Texas, Ashburn, Virginia, Carmel, or is it Carmel? Not California, Indiana. I'm not sure. Carmel or Carmel. I guess I could check. I had to do that one time before. A long time ago, I was recording a radio commercial. I don't even remember what the commercial was for. I don't remember what the client was. It was one of those commercials that had a lot of what we call in the biz local tags. In other words, we made one commercial 25 seconds long. And then we recorded a few dozen, sometimes a few hundred. In this case, it was probably a few dozen local tags with the name of the town and something about where the product or the service or the store, I guess in this case, where it was. And one of them was a town in Oregon called Clackamas. And all I had in front of me was the text. I'm reading it right here. Clackamas. Clackamas. But I didn't know how to pronounce it. And I wasn't doing the announcing, but woman was, and she was coming in soon, and I didn't want to waste her time, so I needed to find out how to pronounce it. So I called Clackamas, Oregon, and said, and I think I called City Hall, Chamber of Commerce or something, and they answered Clackamas, Oregon, City Hall or whatever. And I said, well, I just found out what I needed to know, how to pronounce your town. And they said Clackamas. What I didn't try was this handy pronunciation guide. I don't know that it even existed back then, but it's here now.
Clackamas, Oregon. Clackamas, Oregon. A great place to visit. Clackamas, Oregon.
Yeah, it's a YouTube page. I went to online and just typed in pronounce Clackamas and how to pronounce Clackamas, and got that, and I also got another website that gives me some options here. See what they are.
Clackamas.
Okay.
Clackamas.
Pretty good.
Clackamas.
We were not going to call it Clackamas, but it helps.
Clackamas.
And this one, this third one, no help at all.
Clackamas.
We were not going to do it. I don't know if that was designed for English.
Clackamas.
Oh, I just noticed on this website, for the video audience or for the audio audience, I guess, those three are rated with thumbs up or thumbs down. This one
Clackamas.
is +4, +4 thumbs up.
Clackamas.
That one is -6, and
Clackamas.
that one is -8. I'm going to give this one another plus,
Clackamas.
and I'm going to give it a heart. It's not taking my heart. It's a how to pronounce website. Howtopronounce.com, just in case you ever need to know how to pronounce something, I guess. Okay, so that's pretty useful. Clackamas. I'm not going to ask where was I because I've got myself a script. I know where I was. Kerry got beat by Frisco, Texas, Auburn, Virginia, Carmel, and okay. Enter the word here to pronounce. Carmel. How am I going to tell it Indiana? I'll try Indiana and see what happens. Nothing. Let me take out the Indiana. Well, everything worked on this website before. Okay, here we go. No, I don't think it's got anything.
Carmel, Indiana.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know if that's right, but Carmel. We'll go with that. We'll go with Carmel, Indiana. Thank you. Howtopronounce.com. Frisco, Texas, Ashburn, Virginia, Carmel, Indiana, Elliott City, Maryland. All better than Cary as the best places to live. But since none of them are in North Carolina, Cary is the best place to live in North Carolina. Again, this is according to Money Magazine. Here's their website. Nice pictures on the website of these places. The picture of Cary is probably a drone picture of the new park that's by Harrison Avenue and Dry Street. Elliott City, Maryland gets a picture of a balloon launch. Ashburn, Virginia's got some folks riding bicycles. Carmel, Indiana looks like a downtown street. And Frisco, Texas has looks like a farmer's market. Okay, so Cary is the best place to live in North Carolina. Woohoo. Chapel Hill is the only other North Carolina town to make the list. It's a top 50 list. Chapel Hill is number 33. And now the mean boy comes out. Apex was tops in North Carolina in 2015, so 3 years ago. They didn't even make the top 50 this time. What happened, Apex? You got cocky? You resting on your laurels? Last year, 2017, they did a top 100 last year. Got lazy and only did 50 this year. Last year, Nightdale was number 76, and that made them number 1 in North Carolina. There wouldn't have been a top city in North Carolina if they were only doing 50. Morrisville was number 90 last year, so it was number 2. Cary didn't even make the list last year. Wasn't there. Cary, do we expect to make the list again next year? And are you, I live here, are we really that much better than we were last year? I mean, assuming that we were on the list, would have been on the list if we'd been just a little better last year. You know, if we were 51. Well, and I guess 101. Last year was 100. If we were 101 and now we're number 5. Wow. I mean, we got that new park. Theaters downtown is doing stuff. I think that was around last year, I think. I mean, it's spiffing up, but from at best 101 to number 5, that's quite the leap. I suspect bullshit. I call shenanigans on Money Magazine. Yeah. Chamber of Commerce public relations, I think, is what we're talking about there. All right. This is the Triangle Talk. Wait a minute. I need to get to my control page. Come here, control page. This is the Triangle Talk Show, episode 30, Politics, September 25th, 2018. Trump's a dick. Okay. That is a 2-part title. Trump's a dick. Okay. A pause. A pause to indicate the two-partedness of the title. The guy calling Trump a dick? Well, approximately 60% of America, but in this case it's me, Gary Pierce. Get rid of some of that stuff and time to go find out where I am or not. Yeah, so it's 2 stories. The okay part is not just asking for confirmation of the Trump is a dick part. And both of those parts are coming up soon. Stay tuned. This episode is a little delayed. Well, we squeezed in an episode last night with my friend Bill down in Wilmington, our man in Wilmington. And I've been planning this episode before that. It took a while to get to. A family member's been a little bit under the weather. I have been the nurse. Nothing serious. But I needed to do a lot of stuff and then squeeze in. I would have done this last night, but I had to squeeze in Bill when he was available in between all of his cleaning things up down in Wilmington. I've been making food, which is scary, except that we have a lot of easy to prepare stuff left over from our hurricane preparation that turned out not to be needed here in the Triangle. So it was a good chance to make a dent in that. And if anybody wants a peanut butter sandwich, I'm pretty good at it. Okay, truth be told, I've always been pretty good at it. Something else. Cindy bought 2 giant jugs of this stuff. For the audio audience, it is Arizona Real Brewed Sweet Tea. 1 gallon, 128 fluid ounces, 3.78 liters, if you want to do the math. Arizona Sweet Tea. I've seen this on the grocery store shelves for a long time. I lived in Arizona for a little while. They were not known for their sweet tea. They had it, I guess. I was not a sweet tea person back when I lived in Arizona. I didn't acquire that sophisticated taste until I moved to North Carolina. And now that I have that sophisticated taste, born of places like Bojangles, Smithfield Chicken and Barbecue, Cindy's got a particular taste for Zaxby's. I'm not that finicky. McDonald's is pretty good. I like my sweet tea like soda pop sweet, the real sweet stuff. This Arizona sweet tea is terrible. I don't know why they sell this in North Carolina. I don't know how they can. This has probably been on the grocery store shelf since somebody at Harris Teeter made the deal to bring it in. And they bought, a small pallet, 20 or 30 of them, and they put them on the shelves, and then they've never left. It's terrible. It's got a little lemony flavor to it. I don't put lemon in my sweet tea, but even putting lemon in my sweet tea wouldn't make it taste like that stuff. That is swill. I am polishing my North Carolina bona fides. Getting better at it. Hasn't been a lot of local news. Last week, all hurricane all the time. Even once it left the triangle, we were looking at stories from down east. Politics has been pretty much on hold. Expect it to be getting back into high gear, except maybe in the spots down east that are still flooded. We are still having an election, still coming November 6th. The logistics of that had been in flux for a long time, and now they're pretty much stabilized. We're going to be using the illegal gerrymandered districts, at least until the Supreme Court says we're not, because either we get to change them or they could decide they're not illegal. So far, illegal. Illegal Republican partisan gerrymanders. Nearly 50-50 division in the state in terms of political attitudes based on voting for governor, for senators, for Congress people, in terms of the overall total vote. But then the way things turned out in Congress, the U.S. Congress, 10 Republicans, 3 Democrats. And I forget the guy's name, that our local state senator who helped draw things up, he said, and the only reason it's 10 Republicans and 3 Democrats is we couldn't figure out how to make it 11 Republicans and 2 Democrats. We didn't think we'd get away with that. So we still got our illegal gerrymandered districts. But we will have our election on November 6th. I think the mail ballots have gone out, or you can request them now. And early voting starts a couple of weeks in October. So does fall. Still been too hot. Yesterday was nice. Back to too hot. For a few more days, and then you can have some real fall. And now here's Gary with the weather. The 6 amendments still on the ballot. There we go. 6 amendments are still on the ballot. Some of them have been tweaked a little bit. The ones that were taking the power of the governor to appoint boards, chairmans, things like that, and in the various committees and boards, they appoint a lot of them. The legislature wanted to scarf them up. They tweaked that one to give themselves the power to appoint some election boards, but that's all. I think that's the main give back. If you don't really want to study this amendment thing, and in the surveys that have been done out there among the population, asking people what they know about these amendments, nobody knows much about them. Nobody really understands them. I even saw an article, it was probably an opinion piece, but it said that you needed a PhD and 2 masters to understand what these amendments really mean. So here's my handy guide. If you're a right-winger, vote for all 6. That's all you need to know. If you're a left-winger, vote against all 6. And they've got a better catchphrase for that, called Nix all 6. And it's not just me saying that. The ACLU is recommending that you vote against all of them. Several other interest groups, turns out, that I didn't make a list of, also saying vote against all of them. If you're in the middle, in the mushy middle, and you don't really know, I suppose you could vote for the Marsy's Law. That's the victims' rights law. It is not universally popular, but it's got, maybe less opposition than the other ones do. I mean, ACLU nix all 6. They don't want Marsy's Law either. Marsy's Law doesn't need to be an amendment. It will be fine just being a law. It's probably not going to be called Marsy's Law on the ballot. And the stuff you're going to read on the ballot is going to be confusing, apparently because designed by the Republican-controlled legislature. The idea is to bring Republicans to the polls in this off-year, not too exciting election in North Carolina. Again, not voting for governor, not voting for senators, just Congress people, a state Supreme Court judge. That fight is interesting. That was another sort of win for who? I'm not sure. I didn't write this down, so I don't remember the names. But there was a guy who wanted to get on the ballot, who did get on the ballot for judge. He had been a Democrat. He wanted to be listed as a Republican. He had changed his party. There was already a Republican that the Republican state committee was endorsing. They didn't want a second Republican on the ballot, obviously, because people who aren't studying the people, not really many issues to study in a state Supreme Court battle. They didn't want the Republican, the R next to that guy's name, because they didn't want to dilute the votes from folks who were just going to say, I know I'm going to vote Republican. I don't really want to, don't bother me with any other information. All I've got time for is figuring out I'll vote Republican. Oh, wait, there's two. There's one Democrat, two Republicans running for state Supreme Court. How am I going to pick? I'll take the first one or the second one. So he, forget his name, won his battle to keep the R next to his name. The Republicans are just saying, no, this is a Democratic plot. The guy has Democratic support, consultants, lawyers and stuff. And he's not really a Republican. He's just on there to dilute the vote. I have to say, I think they got a good point. But they lost their fight to keep him from having an R next to his name. They were a little late. I think by next time they'll be able to prevent such a thing from happening. But it was a little bit after the horse had left the barn this time. So Republicans, you have to stay sharp for your Supreme Court vote and figure out which one. I can't tell you because I don't know which one is the real Republican, and the other guy is going to say, well, I'm a real Republican. Okay, you say so. But in any case, the amendments thing, the Republicans created these, put them on the ballot to get some more Republicans out to vote. I don't know if it's going to be very successful getting a lot of people out to vote that wouldn't have, but every vote counts. You're not going to hurt or change anything by voting against all of them. None of them have a great deal of weight, won't do a lot. We're better off without them. So vote nix all six would be my recommendation, and the ACLUs. As I said, campaigning should crank up this week. Maybe not in the flooded areas, but it will here in the Triangle, Triad, and Charlotte. I hope you never pay attention to political advertising, and I have made a fair amount of money, including being the voice of some candidates. I hope you never pay attention to political advertising, at least not in making up your mind who to vote for, the negative stuff or the positive stuff. I mean, you get some warm fuzzies. George Holding has been running mostly warm fuzzies in this market, but it's just somebody making, saying nice things about themselves, and there's more to that story. So, don't pay attention to political advertising. Get your political information by going more in depth. Start with the News and Observer and find some websites that are fairly independent and nonpartisan. It's going to be hard to do. Hurricane Florence, obviously Triangle pretty much spared. Southeast part of the state was not. If you were in the Triangle and you were a hurricane virgin, you still are. Our local news TV stations, WRAL, WTVD, WNCN, Spectrum News. They were on the job around the clock. They suspended all of their programming until the Emmys, I think last Thursday. And WNCN went another day after that. I think they did a pretty great job. I watched mostly WRAL. I dropped in on the other stations now and then, see what things were doing. I guess the thing that impressed me is the minimum of hype. I don't think they put musical banners, Hurricane Florence coverage, boom, boom, boom. Don't think they did that. Obviously, the reporting was exceedingly redundant. If you're going 24 hours, only so much that you can say before something new comes in that you can update. So it's going to be redundant, especially if you were watching for hours on end. And weren't we all? Pretty much, I think so. Trump's a dick, okay? But first I want to talk about Judge Kavanaugh a little bit. Because we're done with the local stuff, mostly, I think. I think I'm done with the local stuff. I want to talk about Judge Brett Kavanaugh and the Supreme Court confirmation hearings. We had them. We did. I watched some of them. I couldn't watch all of it. I could have made the time. It's frustrating, boring, sometimes interesting, irritating political speeches from senators on both sides. Occasionally an interesting question. We had our hearings. And then we got the allegation of attempted rape from Dr. Christine Blasey Ford back when she and Kavanaugh were in high school. And it looks like that's going to reopen the hearings this week. So far Thursday, but quite the soap opera. And now a second allegation of misconduct. This time when Kavanaugh was in college at Yale, the woman is named Deborah Ramirez. And a story in the New Yorker website has the details. It also says that Ramirez was reluctant to tell her story because, and now I will quote, her memories contained gaps because she had been drinking at the time of the alleged incident. But after 6 days of carefully assessing her memories and consulting with her attorney, Ramirez says that she felt confident enough of her recollections to say that she remembers Kavanaugh had exposed himself at a drunken dormitory party, thrust his penis in her face, and caused her to touch it without her consent as she pushed him away. Carefully constructed language, I'm sure. Kavanaugh denies both allegations, went on Fox News to say he didn't do it. All of that makes a few interesting minutes of television every day. Seems like there's a new nugget or three that get revealed about that every day. And then that's followed by endless repetition, opinion spouting, and posturing. And the timing, it's terrible. Whether they're right or not, the Republicans can claim that the timing of these charges is a little too convenient. And when they do that, they give lip service at best to the difficulty that women have who have been sexually attacked or abused, having the trouble that they have making and proving their allegations. The Republicans note that that is true. And then it's back to timing is too convenient. Or if you're Sean Hannity, you will just repeat over and over again that that he's not getting due process, the innocent until proven guilty. And I heard something interesting about that on, I think the 538 podcast is what I was listening to. Innocent until proven guilty, the presumption of innocence, the preponderance of evidence, those are things that you do in court, but in the court of public opinion, in the media, innocent until proven guilty is not a thing. I've heard that a couple of years ago, and It struck me that that's true. Innocent until proven guilty, reasonable doubt, that is in court. And the Senate hearings are not court, and we are not court. None of that applies. Attention, Sean Hannity. That's all you got. It doesn't apply. Assuming everything that Dr. Ford alleges is true, assuming Judge Kavanaugh is lying, or he was blacked out drunk and doesn't remember, which is not what he's saying, the timing still stinks. So it's a rough charge to make at this time in the process, but it is when we have it. And Blasey Ford has got some reasons for that timing, and so does Ramirez. Get that name right? Yeah. They have reasons for the timing. It all gets an asterisk in the history books because we can't be sure. We are not them. Okay, so we got this three-ring circus going on in the media. And I wonder, who is this show aimed at? And I think this is the main point that I want to make. I mean, I already knew I wasn't going to support Kavanaugh. Not that anybody cares. Most Democratic senators are not. Most Republican senators are. So who are we trying to convince with this? Well, just a handful of people. There are a few Republican senators and a bigger handful of Democratic senators who aren't sure. Or at least they haven't stated publicly whether they're going to vote to confirm Kavanaugh or not. And they are the audience for all this stuff on TV, all this stuff on the web, all this stuff in the newspapers. The Senate is almost evenly divided. It's 51-49. I won't go into the two independents who caucus with the Democrats. Basically, 51-49 Republican Democrat. And those uncertain or those uncommitted votes, well, they are the key. We don't know if they do this vote on, well, they have the hearing on Thursday so far. And a vote, we don't know when. But soon, probably soon, we'll see. So those uncommitted votes, senators, this show's for you. I suppose the show could also be for Kavanaugh himself and Trump. Kavanaugh deciding to withdraw, Trump deciding to convince him to withdraw, and Senate leaders, McConnell, maybe he'll get in the act and say, this just isn't going to happen. It's not fair, but it's not going to happen. I think it's probably spills out into the general election. So that means that you and I, are actually part of this audience. I mean, we don't get to vote on confirming a Supreme Court justice. The closest we get is voting for president, because the president nominates new justices, and voting for senators, because the Senate confirms the president's nomination or rejects it. And so thinking about that, being aware of what a president and senators might do, well, that's high on my list of things to consider when I vote. Not as high as it probably ought to be, but it's one of the things I think about. It occurs to me that, so we do get to weigh in, at least for the politicians who have their finger in the air, figuring out which way the wind is blowing. We can weigh in by calling, by writing, by answering polls. When somebody calls you and says, which way are you thinking about this? Maybe even by which TV network we watch. If you get surveyed and you say you watch Fox News, well, that says something. Watch MSNBC or CNN, that says something else. You watch soap operas, I suppose that says something too. So yeah, we're in the game, but it's really mostly for a couple of Republican senators and a couple more Democratic senators. still up in the air. Thursday should be interesting. Some other things happening on Thursday. Not the Rosenstein stuff. Did he? If you've been watching the news, if you haven't been watching the news, if you're relying on me to give you your not very interested in the news, I guess I should say that Deputy Attorney General Rob Rosenstein, back early in his in this administration, said some not particularly smart things, apparently, about Trump, worrying about, already, near the beginning of the administration, already worrying about him to the point of thinking, maybe it would be a good idea to wire somebody and clandestinely record Trump, or even start thinking about 25th Amendment. That's the way to remove a president. And I guess the story is he was joking. I can see that. I can also see that he wasn't. It's the kind of thing that, that gets out into the stream and gets a life of its own, and decisions get made, whether the core of it was all that serious or not. That'll be Thursday too. He might get fired. Thursday's going to be busy. What about the two North Carolina senators on the Kavanaugh thing? Are we in play here in North Carolina? Probably not. CNN quotes Tom Tillis a couple days ago as saying, as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, so that's the committee that's doing the hearings, and he's asked some questions, but he's not the one that gets on the news every night. As a member of the committee, I look forward to strongly supporting his nomination, and I will work to ensure the Senate moves swiftly to confirm him. Well, he said that a few days ago. So he's on board, at least for now. The swift part, well, not so much. Our other senator, CNN quotes Richard Burr, saying, President Trump has put forth a highly qualified and respected candidate committed to the rule of law. Judge Kavanaugh's credentials are impeccable, and as a judge for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, he has considered many of the most pressing legal issues of our time. CNN considers that, I'm done quoting him. No, I'm done quoting them. No, I'm done quoting him. CNN considers that to be enough of a waffle to put him only in the leans yes column. Burr has announced he's going to retire from the Senate when his current term is up in 4 years, 2022. That tends to give elected officials a little more independence in making decisions. But no one's listing him as a real unknown. The Trump is a dick headline. That is part of the Kavanaugh deal, too. I've mostly ignored Twitter. That means I haven't seen Trump's tweets except as they get reported in the media. It's a very odd thing how Trump and Twitter have become such a thing. But that's the way we are today. I don't know that will continue with other politicians. All politicians tweet. Trump's tweets are the only ones that really get into the news. So I didn't pay attention to them. And I don't even pay attention very much to the ones that have made it through into the media. I did start a Twitter account for the Triangle Talk Show. And when I signed up for it, I didn't really know what I was doing. didn't know how to play the system. They asked for a name. I didn't want Gary Pierce. I wanted Triangle Talk Show. But I put it as 3 words, Triangle Talk Show. The only place where I concatenate it, where I make it one word, 3 words, all is one word, is the web address, because you have to. So somehow Twitter decided that we would be at Talk Triangle. not at Triangle Talk Show, at Talk Triangle, which I suppose is fine. It's actually kind of cool. You can tweet at that if you want. I got to admit, tweet still sounds a little weird. I'm old. You can tweet at that. I don't know if I'll ever see it. I guess, someday I might. I look at it once in a while. I open up the Twitter thing to announce a new show. And once I'm there, I look up and down the line a little bit to see what's being said. I don't have time for that fire hose. If you want to get to me, email talk at Triangle Talk Show. Talk at, and this is where it's all together, Triangle Talk Show as one word. Or, if you prefer, talk at Triangle Talks How. You can say it to yourself with a question mark at the end. Don't put the question mark in the email address or it won't work, but talk at Triangle Talks How. Depends on how you capitalize Triangle Talk Show. Just to see what happens in that Twitter feed, I decided to follow Trump. And what happens is you get mostly public relations puffery, but mixed in are the more inflammatory tweets, and those are the ones that the media picks up. And I know, Trump has been a dick for a long time. This is not a news flash. He is a dick to minorities, to the media, Democrats in general. He's a dick to his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who is also a dick. He is a dick to anybody who has worked for him who he thinks hasn't been loyal enough. And again, none of that is breaking news. But what caught my eye is one tweet that he aimed at the first woman to accuse Brett Kavanaugh of sexual impropriety or attempted rape. Christine Ford, Professor Christine Ford, Trump tweeted, and I quote, "I have no doubt that," and I'm not doing a Trump impression, "I have no doubt that if the attack on Dr. Ford was as bad as she says, charges would have been immediately filed with local law enforcement authorities by either her or her loving parents. I ask that she bring those filings forward so that we can learn the date, time, and place." And that makes sense. If you're an old white conservative man, woman is attacked, woman reports it, woman gets justice. Right? I'll wait for the laughter to die down. We know that didn't happen. Dr. Ford and her loving family did not report her assault. Trump knows that didn't happen. I think I know why they didn't report it. I think I know why most women don't report things like that. And I don't think Trump has a clue, and I don't think he wants a clue. You want a list? Okay, from an old white man? Sure. I've been listening. Here's what I get. Feeling shame, feeling somehow responsible because she asked for it, how she dressed, that she got drunk. It's okay for men to do this. It's not okay for women. Feeling she won't be believed because there's no proof. It's just her word. Proof is hard to come by. Maybe women should wear body cameras all the time now. Because, women have to do things different than men. Because they're women. And men have privilege. Fearing consequences, losing a job or a promotion, being branded a troublemaker, losing credibility, physical danger. The list really is almost endless. I got help on this list from an article in Psychology Today. It is a long article. I just said that Trump made the snarky tweet that surely Dr. Ford and her loving parents would have reported the assault because he didn't have a clue. I take that back. I think he knew exactly what he was saying. I think he knows at least some of that list that I just read. He knows that women don't always report assaults. And I'm pretty sure he knows why. And he's blaming Ford for not reporting it anyway. And that makes it worse. But here's what makes it even worse. Trump isn't just making his snarky tweet toward the middle-aged Christine Blasey Ford. He is saying it to every woman in America, and especially to every 17-year-old woman in America. And that's why he's a dick. I wish there were no reasons why women wouldn't report assaults. I wish it didn't require any bravery at all, and that it's one of those things that's getting better. Well, it is one of those things that's getting better, but it's not all better yet. Trump is part of the problem. And he's a dick. So, title of the program was Trump is a Dick, space. Okay, what about the okay part? Well, last week during the Hurricane Florence coverage, there was a story about a Coast Guard staffer who was flashing the okay sign in the background of an on-camera interview. For the folks that are watching, it's just circle your thumb and forefinger, and then the other three fingers kind of stick up, okay. We all know, okay. Works better this way, right? I'm trying to figure out between my microphone and the camera. Oh, I'll do it with this hand. Okay. You've all seen the okay sign. So a Coast Guard staffer was giving the okay sign in the back of an interview, and I think I got a picture of that for those of you that are watching the video. It's this guy back here. This guy was on camera doing an interview. This guy was just sitting in the background, and that's a little freeze frame of him holding his hand up, doing the okay sign. And let me show you how that looked in the rolling video. So he'll just kind of casually run his hand through his hair and then down by his ear and quickly flash the okay sign. But watch, he'll look up and make sure, oh yeah, I appear to be on camera.
The Coast Guard said a member of its hurricane response team has been removed after
there he goes.
To make the white power hand signal during
that was
live broadcast.
That was quick. They're going to show it again. A little bit more close up. There he's looking at the camera, slyly looking at the camera, and finger goes up by his hair, by his eye. There's the okay sign, and he goes and scratches his nose. All right, so that's what it looked like moving, and we'll freeze it there, and pretty clear what he's doing. So if you haven't heard about this little phenomenon, you're probably going, what? What's the problem? Well, what the problem is depends on who you ask. But the story that I can piece together is that it's sort of it's an in-joke that some of the alt-right types are playing on the left. They started spreading a rumor that the okay sign is a secret white power symbol. And some of the people on the left bit. And they started complaining about what they saw. Like in that Coast Guard interview, and it wasn't specific, but the guy that did that was, I don't know, let go, or something happened to him. He got some kind of punishment. Don't know exactly what kind. But that's not the only example. It's the only one that I've got conveniently here to talk about. But folks on the left have bought into this supposed white power symbol that, best I can tell, was started as a joke, with the idea that we are going to get the folks on the left. We'll tell them it's a white power symbol. We'll sneak it into some media, and we'll get them all in a tizzy. And apparently it worked. My point, who cares? They can't have it. They can't have it. Okay is okay. They can't have it. Next. One more thing that came out of Hurricane Florence media coverage. This thing showed up on my Facebook page several times, courtesy of my right-wing friends. This is actually a picture from Snopes, but it's on the Snopes website, but this is the picture that got on lots of posts from folks I know in the right-wing end of things. And again, I know a lot of folks in the right-wing end of things, not because I know them personally. And when I was doing the ham radio thing, I was a big media star, and I got a couple of thousand Facebook friends. most of them ham radio, and within that ham radio thing, I would say the preponderance of hams lean toward being conservative. So I get a ton of that stuff. And I don't want to make it go away because I want to see what those folks are doing. So I make sure I click on it so that Facebook is going to continue to send it to me. I don't have that many folks in the left-wing side of things. So maybe the folks on the left are doing the same thing. Faking. Sometimes a lot of it is faked pictures, photoshopped pictures. A lot of it is just titles that are misleading. And I don't see a lot of it from the left, although it probably is done, and I just don't see it. I will assume that it is done. Anyway, this is what showed up. What you see is a video technician standing in thigh deep water, little deeper than ankle deep water. There's a camera next to him. He's not the cameraman. He's the sound guy. Cameraman is off to the side of the picture. And Anderson Cooper, CNN's anchor Anderson Cooper, is standing in waist deep water a few feet away. So obviously what he's in is deeper. And he's reporting. And if all you see is that picture and the text around it, there's another version of it. If the media will lie about this, what else are they lying about? Leading you to think, well, Anderson Cooper went and found some waist deep water to stand on to make his report more dramatic. Did it on purpose. Could have been standing on practically dry land. Now, another one of these pictures that they're showing, they got 3 from Anderson Cooper, different angles, approximately the same thing. But the third one that they're showing is a little harder to justify. It's the Weather Channel guy who's standing on a little grassy spot next to a parking lot, leaning hard into the hurricane force winds, and then 2 dudes in shorts walk casually by in the background. I got a feeling that Weather Channel guy was being overly dramatic. So, but he's being lumped in with with Anderson Cooper, or Anderson Cooper's being lumped in with him. And the folks who are putting this stuff on Facebook think that they caught Anderson Cooper in a big fake news lie because they have him standing in the waist deep water with the camera and audio guy a few feet away in the water that's only a few inches deep. Implication: Cooper is exaggerating the depth of water for more phony TV drama. But if you actually watch the video report, they've got that on Snopes. If you watch the video report itself, and I'll play that here, it's not quite the way they're portraying it. I do have the music, though.
And welcome back. We are in the Bridge City area in Texas. You see the house there behind me. I actually wanted to kind of walk over to that house to kind of, just see how badly it was flooded. I can't actually even get over there. If I took about 2 more steps behind me, I would basically sink up to my neck in water. And though that might make something fun to watch on YouTube, I don't really want to star on YouTube in that way.
Okay, so that's what Cooper was showing. That at least that little clip that they put there, that he's in real deep water. What he didn't explain at that time was why he was where he was. The Facebook posts did draw an on-air response from Cooper, which is kind of unusual. He explained that, well, first of all, the picture wasn't from Hurricane Florence, wasn't new. The story that he was reporting was from Hurricane Ike. You just heard him say in Texas in 2008. So the fake news about the news was fake news. And, my right-wing Facebook friends got confronted with that pretty quickly, and they brushed it off saying, "I don't care. It was old, so what? It's still fake." Let me play what Anderson Cooper did is he actually went on the air and he started to talk about this. He normally doesn't do it, but he did talk about it.
I rarely respond to online conspiracy theorists or cable news cranks looking to get into a mutually beneficial beef that'll boost their ratings. I try not to argue with other TV anchors, and I usually let conspiracy theorists go unanswered. For years, Alex Jones claimed that I didn't go to Sandy Hook after the shootings there and claimed an interview I did with a grieving mother was instead done in front of a green screen in a studio somewhere with a crisis actor.
Okay, so Cooper explains what was going on, and if you watch the actual story instead of just blindly passing around the picture in the meme, well, you can see exactly where he was and why. In the Hurricane Ike situation, he'll explain that he was on a flooded road with enough traffic that he couldn't just stand on the road for his report. And the road was the high ground. The camera guy could be up there, but he didn't want to report from up there. He wanted to show the depth of the water in the area that he was reporting from.
In order to somehow harm his father. And I quote from his tweet, "Stop lying to try to make @real Donald Trump look bad," he wrote. A guy named Gavin J. Smith, who I've never heard of, formerly with the Trump presidential campaign, tweeted, quote, "Absolutely disgraceful. Apparently Hurricane Florence wasn't devastating enough for CNN's Anderson Cooper, so he had to exaggerate for his live shot. Fake news at its finest." Now, the picture has popped up in various memes alleging fake news. Some guy I've never heard of made a joke on Twitter that I was on my knees in the water to make it look deep, and then went on to say that I was used to being on my knees, which I assume is some sort of anti-gay reference. Very classy. Anyway, I've covered hurricanes for about 14 years, and it really does make me sad to think that anyone...
So the pictures that came out of Ike got promoted during Florence, starting with Donald Trump Jr.
himself an outdoorsman and pays a lot of money to be led to wildlife in Africa that he then kills.
Snap.
But I'm not sure if he's ever actually been to a hurricane or a flood. I didn't see him down in North Carolina the last few days.
So that's why Cooper was actually bothering to do this, because it started with Donald Trump. It just didn't start with your average conspiracy theorist.
Honesty and transparency, here's what these pictures actually show. I don't know who took them or what their motivation was. Here's what was actually happening. Number one, this was not Hurricane Florence. This was taken 10 years ago during Hurricane Ike. On September 13th, 2008, I did a 2-hour broadcast from Bridge City, Texas by Highway 62 in Orange County, not far, I'm told, from the city of Orange. Now,
in fact, the right-wingers who put this stuff on Facebook, they won't care about any of this. None of this makes a difference to them.
From that location. As for those who think I was kneeling or faking the water level or making it look worse than it was or standing in some sort of a hole.
Okay, so me, I think
Texas Governor Rick Perry, who actually interviewed
that this is sort of a nice try for Anderson. But if you're explaining, you're losing, or, so I'm told. The wingnuts, they still don't care. CNN is still fake news. And me, I think CNN has too many shows with 6 people in little boxes all talking at once, but I think their actual news coverage is fair and balanced.
Now, at the time of the broadcast, we were told there were people still waiting for rescue. I tell you all of this to point out the obvious. There was plenty of deep water all around. The idea that I am kneeling in water to make it look deep is frankly idiotic. I'm going to show you, in fact, a clip of me walking in the water.
So I would like to do Anderson a favor and play his entire response here, but I'm afraid that I would get a takedown notice from CNN and YouTube, so I will just put it into a link on the Triangle Talk Show website, And you can go watch it for yourself. And we are done. Triangle Talk Show. I've got to get to my control program here. There we go. Triangle Talk Show, episode 30, September 25th, 2018. Trump's a dick. Okay. And he is. And I am Gary Pierce. And that is it. 2 shows in 2 days. Going to give you a break and come back, well, whenever I can, probably toward the end of the week. I got a wedding to go to this weekend. Might not be something until next week. We will see. And it'll be fun whenever we get back. Over and out.